Who won the Dusty Rhodes Classic Tag Team Tournament? Did Sasha Banks walk away with the NXT Women's Championship after that 30-minute Iron Man match, or did Bayley retain? And also, what a debut for Asuka. We're going to talk more about NXT TakeOver Respect right here on today's video, powered by Google Hangouts. YouTube, are you ready for your hot tag? Because if you are, it is time to work.
Oh, hey folks, this is Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and you're watching WGS-TV. Tough guy.
Greetings, YouTube. You have warped your way into another episode of WGS-TV right here on youtube.com/WrestleGamer. I am the WrestleGamer, Double B Billy Boudreaux. Today is Thursday, October 8th. 2015, and what we're going to be doing on today's video is we're going to be discussing the NXT Takeover Respect show from last night. But before we get started, I would like to I have something I would like to say. It was brought to my attention this morning. Yours truly likes to watch, all kinds of shows, but as of late, I've become a fan of a cooking show on the local PBS stations here in Louisiana, and one of the shows I watched almost every night, any chance I could, I always watched this show, and that was Always Cooking with Chef Paul Prudhomme. He was a very well-known celebrity chef in the New Orleans, Opelousas area, and it was brought to my attention that this morning he passed away at the age of 75. I just want to say my condolences go out to Chef Paul's family in this terrible time right now. He had been sick for some time, and I'm going to miss seeing his dishes and his work, but he left a legacy behind. He left a huge book of recipes, and, if anyone ever shared what good Cajun Creole Louisiana food ever was, it was Chef Paul Prudhomme. So, again, my condolences go out to Chef Paul's family and friends at this time. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and get to Takeover Respect. And joining me on the review today, guys and gals, you know him as the hardcore host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, Rick Head. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, Billy. And what a show last night. It was. I was very impressed.
Yep, and I like the fact that they went straight into the semifinals for the Dusty Classic. Finn Balor and Samoa Joe taking on Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. Just to summarize, because we're just going to summarize a couple of the matches, that way we get to talk about the big things that happened. It was a good, decent match, and they would kind of use the semifinal match to kind of set up Finn Balor having an issue with his knee. And a lot of people think, oh, was that a legit injury? Let me just say this right off the bat, that if it was a legit injury in the semifinal match, that they would not have had Finn Balor do the coup de grace finisher off the top rope on Dash Wilder to pick up the win. They wouldn't want to hamper their superstars, in that capacity. So it makes more sense to say that this was a work injury, a kayfabe injury. But yeah, that was a good start for the semifinals. And I'm just going to go through the semifinals really quickly, Rick, so we can get to the big things for us to talk about. Jason Jordan and Chad Gable taking on Baron Corbin and Rhyno. You want to talk about a one-sided opinion by the Full Sail University fans? They have just developed an extreme hatred of Baron Corbin. And, well, Rick, let me ask you this question from your perspective. And I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but it just, there's just so much, they're too similar in a sense when it comes to the fans. Would you kind of call Baron Corbin the John Cena of NXT?
I don't really see him in that aspect. From what I've seen of him, he comes across as a heel. And that reminds me a little bit more of Seth Rollins. And what people, I think, fail to understand is if you hate a heel, then they're doing their job properly. And you know, you have somebody like John Cena where they always have mixed fans. There are haters of John Cena despite him being a face, and he says he considers himself a heel, and that is just not the case. Because a heel is somebody who does heel tactics, and the fans hate him. Seth Rollins is the pinnacle of what a heel should be today. You know, people like Roddy Piper, the late Roddy Piper, was the great heel. He knew how to piss people off. He would cheat to win. That is a heel.
Yeah, the infamous Piper poke. We see that all the time with some of the heels today, and I'm glad they keep that part of Roddy Piper alive. Baron Corbin would end up hitting the end of days on Chad Gable to advance them to the finals. So now the finals are set as Finn Balor and Samoa Joe would take on Baron Corbin and Rhyno. Now, the big thing we definitely want to discuss is, for one thing, the debut of Asuka. What a debut. I mean, you know, I've seen video clips, Rick, of some of her past work as Kana in Japan, and I gotta say, she brings an intensity that I haven't seen in quite some time when it comes to female wrestling.
Absolutely. She truly is going to be a force to be reckoned with, at least in NXT. How she'll be when she gets up to the main roster, will they allow her to have that kind of intensity and force? That remains to be seen. And I only say that because we've seen it so many times in recent the past couple of years of how NXT wrestlers would come up and they would change. Some would for the better, and others for not so great. Case in point is the Ascension. The Ascension was dominating down at NXT. Now they've come up and they've become kind of a jobber. So what happens in the main roster? Totally, you never know. It's always a coin toss.
One of the things I've always said about them, that it's kind of a phrase I've kind of coined here on the channel, is that they got lost in the mid-card shuffle.
Exactly.
And you know, and that's something you definitely don't want to see. As I try to warn someone that's in here that somebody's getting into something they're not supposed to be in. I gotta say, I really don't want to see that happen to Asuka. I mean, like I said, she's developed a huge reputation overseas, and she had a fantastic debut against Dana Brooke, and I'm really hoping to see great things in the future for her, especially with her being here and having the chance to possibly revamp the Divas division, and hopefully we can see that happening pretty much soon. Tyler Breeze and Apollo Crews has to be a surprise match of the night, in my personal opinion, Rick, because considering the fact that we know Apollo Crews, has been on such a huge push. I didn't mean to say that word. I meant to say push. I'm a commentator. Hello, I need to learn how to talk. He's been on an amazing push as of late, and we kind of expected Apollo Crews to get the win, but we've seen Apollo Crews just being the overpowered, dominating type, and I don't know if this would be a fair comparison, Rick, but the only thing when I see Apollo Crews and what he can do, he reminds me so much of Bobby Lashley.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they're trying to model him around, is to a Bobby Lashley type character for the WWE. As far as the match goes, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not really much of a Tyler Breeze fan. He reminds me of kind of like almost like an HBK wannabe, and a watered down version of that. His ring skills are not bad, but I'm just not over with the gimmick. So, but the match itself, yes, was exceptionally well.
Well, it could possibly be that he needs to spend more time down in NXT, maybe to have the character develop even further beyond than what he's at right now. That could be the only thing that I could possibly think of to possibly improve Tyler Breeze if he wants any chance of being shot up to the main roster. But again, there's always that chance of being lost in the mid-card shuffle in the WWE because of the fact that WWE Creative, who I believe they're under the thumb of Vince McMahon, they continually they're either going to be yes man, no pun intended for Daniel Bryan, or they're just going to continually kiss the butt of Vince McMahon. And I did read a report somewhere that said that Vince McMahon actually blames the fans for low ratings, and we're definitely going to have a video possibly tomorrow to discuss that.
If I may cut in on that, I saw the same thing, and it's from a website that pretty much just does Unreal news for the Unreal sport. It's total kayfabe. It's a joke, and it's supposed to be funny. And I'll say, because I saw the same report where they said the Undertaker failed a wellness policy because they realized he was a dead man.
Shout out to kayfabenews.com for that one. The finals of the Dusty Rhodes Classic. Baron Corbin and Rhyno taking on Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. One of the things I said on the Facebook page last night, Rick, is that I hope that this becomes an annual tradition for WWE. I mean, to pay honor and respect to the legend of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And they really did it well with this tag team tournament. And I want to see something like this possibly become an annual thing. And the reason why I want to talk a little bit more about it is because of the fact of some of the responses I've seen over social media when it pertains to Finn Balor and Samoa Joe, who ended up winning the Dusty Rhodes Classic with the coup de grace on Rhyno. A lot of the fans wanted to see a set tag team actually come away with the Dusty Rhodes Classic, and a lot of them don't agree with the fact that they put two random people together, i.e. Finn Balor and Samoa Joe, and had them win the Dusty Classic. Now, to an extent, I would agree with them a little bit, but I gotta say, having a tag team like Finn Balor and Samoa Joe and having them win the championship, they're as far as I'm concerned, they're not chump change.
No, not at all. But what I with the fans who are saying they want to see a tag team, I have to agree, because let's be honest, despite their talent, these guys are not going to be a full-time tag team. These guys are going to be a tag team, if lucky, for maybe another month or a month and a half. And I wouldn't even be surprised if we saw a feud, because there was a bit of a hint, or at least in my eyes, I saw a bit of a hint in the early stages of the finale. And I remember, like, when Finn Balor injured himself, he insisted on getting tagged in, and Samoa just kind of looked at him like, okay. And I thought that we were going to see somewhere along the line they were going to play on that storyline. It didn't come to pass, but I do think that he should have used a full tag team to win, because it would have solidified them even more, so when they go up to the main roster, which we need more tag teams.
Yes, definitely. We need a more diverse tag team division, because considering, who we have right now in the tag team division, we don't really have a really diverse roster of tag teams, and I think we need to have that again, in my personal opinion, especially if you want to make the tag team championship on your main roster look more relevant, in my personal opinion. And there was also a report released, and there was actually a video released from WWE on YouTube, that on next week's NXT there's going to be a battle royal to crown a new #1 contender. Rick, would you be at all surprised to see if Samoa Joe was the one who walked away the winner of this battle royal?
It's very possible. He's been getting a bit of a push. I don't know who else is currently in it. I just know right now that he's in it. I think what they're trying to do is give him the quick push so eventually he can get up to the roster in the same fashion that we saw Kevin Owens get that quick. I mean, I don't think he was in NXT for any more than, 6, maybe 7 months at the most, if I'm overshooting. Yeah. So I think they're trying to do the same with him. Finn Balor could be another possibility, but from what I've read in interviews, Finn Balor has no desire to go up to the main roster.
I wouldn't blame him, because it would possibly kind of stifle him creatively.
Exactly.
On the main roster. I mean, Finn Balor, Prince Devitt, however you want to address him as, guys and gals, he's always been a very creative kind of a guy, and especially during his Prince Devitt days over in Japan. I mean, you want to talk about creative, just look up some stuff on him, and you'll definitely see some very creative type of entrances and body paints and styles when it comes to Finn Balor. And I don't blame him one bit for not wanting to go up to the main roster right now, because of the fact, again, they would incredibly stifle his creative ability when it pertains to his gimmick and his character.
Yeah, but, I want to interject real quick about what you've been saying about how they've been stifling his character, and I kind of noticed that a little bit on NXT, because if you notice, he only does the face paint or the whole getup on special events, and to me, that shouldn't fly like that. You have wrestlers like Goldust, Sting, Ultimate Warrior, Stardust, and countless others who had that face paint constantly, who had that getup constantly, and I think that's something they should do. Now, don't get me wrong, I am a big fan of Finn Balor. He is a phenomenal worker, but the gimmick itself should be consistent throughout his stay in NXT.
And I think the way that certain fans would kind of respond to the usage of that is considering the fact that Finn Balor's current gimmick isn't necessarily dependent on the body paint. The body paint is an added addendum into his character to be brought out only on special occasions. So that way when we see it, it has that much more of an impact. Guys like Stardust, Ultimate Warrior, Sting, the face paint was always a part of their gimmick. And I think the way they're trying to build around Finn Balor is that he only brings out the demon. Remember, he's only just called Finn Balor. He doesn't go by the demon Finn Balor. He just goes by Finn Balor. He only brings out the demon on the special occasions of merit, like the NXT takeovers, especially when he's also defending the NXT championship on big name shows, which I'm kind of surprised we really didn't see that last night, especially with the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Classic. But anyway, speaking of that, let's get to the main event, the Women's Championship 30-minute Iron Man match, Bayley defending against Sasha Banks. And I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, Nikki and Brie Bella, take notes. Main roster divas, take notes about how a women's match should be properly worked. You want to talk about a match that really, in my mind, stole the show last night. It was definitely the Iron Man match for the NXT Women's Championship. I mean, they kept the crowd into it. They were emotionally invested into it, especially Bayley's biggest fan at ringside. I don't know what her name is, so that's why I just refer to her as Bayley's biggest fan, but she was incredibly emotionally invested into it. The fans were always kept on the edge of the seat. You really did not know which way they were going to go until the very end, when they were both tied up, and I think it was like about 30 seconds left, and Bayley locked on a unique armbar submission hold, and Sasha Banks tapped out with 10 seconds to go, therefore giving Bayley the victory, and she retains the NXT Women's Championship. And one thing you gotta tip your hat to, Rick, is the show of respect that both Sasha Banks and Bayley received, not only the fans at Full Sail University, but the roster back there too, especially seeing Triple H there and William Regal.
I totally agree with you. I thought the match was absolutely great. It was, like you said, it's where the divas, they raised the bar where divas should be today. My only personal complaint, and this has nothing to do with the merit of the actual divas, is to me an Iron Man match is 60 minutes. That's just me. That's how I'm always going to think. When I see 30 minutes, it's kind of like cut in half. I can understand why maybe the divas, they wanted to do with 30 minutes, but I think it would have been, for me, a lot better if they did like the best of 5 or the best of 7 series in that one match, and I think it would have been the same thing.
Yep, this was billed as the, quote, 10th Iron Man match in WWE history, and I think the only reason why there are a lot of reasons people can actually speculate as to why they went from 60 minutes to 30 minutes. The only reasons that I could see when I look up and down at the card is time constraints. If they really would have went to the full 60 minutes, we probably would have lost maybe 2 or 3 matches. We probably wouldn't even have time for the Dusty Rhodes Classic, because apparently they were only allotted 2 hours for the NXT Takeover broadcast last night.
Well, Well, you know, they said that's what allotted, but I mean, let's be realistic. It's not like it's cable or anything else. It's the WWE Network, you know, and you know, they could have said, hey, look, we're gonna go for an additional special 2.5 hours, so the last hour. And again, it's just my personal thoughts. I can also see that they're doing it maybe for health reasons. Don't want to push them too far. Even wrestlers in general, while they're going to 30 minutes, I can understand that. I just wish it was a different style of match, and it would have had the same quality, same merit, and of course, no pun intended, the same respect.
Overall score in NXT Takeover Respect last night, guys, it's going to get a solid 4 out of 5. There were no worse matches or segments last night. Best match of the night, definitely going to go to the Women's Championship 30-minute Iron Man match. Again, when you have a matchup where you keep the fans emotionally invested and keep them on the edge of your seat, that's when the formula, and I like to call it as a formula, when you have that perfect formula of emotions and getting the fans excited, invested into your match, that's when you know you have a 5-star quality match. Hands down. There can't be any other way. I'm also going to throw out an honorable mention to Asuka and her debut. Man, she got some wicked strikes, and of course, after the match was over, or I think it was during the match, I think, when she went up to the ringside and just kind of looked at Emma, and Emma just turned and didn't want to look at her. I'm like, oh, I don't want to mess with her. I love that part. That was awesome. I mean, not only is Asuka hot, but she can intimidate and scare the crap out of you. But anyway, that's been my take on it. Rick, over to you. Your overall score and your picks for best and worst match. And I can't really say segment because there were no segments. So best and worst match of NXT Takeover Respect.
Well, I'm going to say first off, there was no worst match. Every single match from start to finish was excellent in their own right. They had their own moments. The match that stole the show, I have to agree with you. The 30-minute Iron Man match was absolutely incredible. The Oksana match, great. Her debut was incredible.
Asuka, not Oksana.
I said Asuka.
Okay.
I didn't say Oksana, but anyway, your favorite female wrestler. But
follow Hardcore Wrestling Radio if you want to know more of the story, guys.
Anyway, I have to go right with you. 4.5. I can even give it a 5 because it was that great. And you know, it just shows the main roster that, you know, you can have an awesome show if you want to. Because if you look at Raw lately and SmackDown lately, you're lucky if it even gets a 2.5 in my book.
Definitely, guys. And also, again, huge respects to the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and everything that he's accomplished and he's done with NXT. And like I've said already, I would love to have the Dusty Classic be an annual tournament, whether it be a tag team or just a regular tournament, be an annual tournament for NXT. It's a great way to honor the memory. I mean, you know, we have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal for WrestleMania to pay homage to Andre the Giant, and I think it's only fitting that NXT, and especially with all the work that Dusty Rhodes put into NXT, that they would pay homage to him by having an annual tag team tournament with the Dusty Classic. I would love to see that. But anyway, guys and gals, what we want to know from you guys out there, the viewers and subscribers, your thoughts on NXT Takeover Respect. What are your overall scores and what are your picks for best and there is no worse match or segment of NXT Takeover Respect? We definitely want to know what you guys have to say out there. Be sure to put your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, and also you can also ask me questions. Links will be provided in the description box below. Rick, where can fans check you out on HWR?
Well, of course, if you ever want to listen to any of our podcasts, we have tribute videos and a lot of shoot videos, including just recently, I saw Mick Foley. We have that full performance right on our webpage, our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/HWR show. If you want to get vocal and you want to be a part of our discussions, jump on over to our chat room. That's HWR chat room at facebook.com.
Fans, don't forget WGS-TV is on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The links are also in the description box below. And as always, guys and gals, I will have a couple of videos in the annotations at the end of this video for you guys to check out as well. So with that being said, for the hardcore host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, Rick Kidd, I'm the Wrestle Gamer, Double Table and Gudra, saying we'll see you at the next Warp Zone.
like, I see where it's leading. I hope Kane actually gets the title for his run, especially if his last run, then having the title with that. But anyways, the W, I can see them winning the match.